Welcome back to Horrifying Stories. It was another day for lifelong hunters, father and son, Ron Lemmings Sr and Ronnie Lemmings Jr. Ronnie was trying to set up and call the elk on target, while his father Ron, 40 yards away from him, hid in a spot downhill, stealthily waiting with his bow and arrow for the perfect shot. Ronnie's elk call was not in vain when the elk came out positioned right at the perfect spot the father and son needed it to be. Not until in a matter of seconds, the elk mysteriously raced away. Ronnie was left puzzled on what had gone wrong, leading the elk to make such a sudden run. Things only made sense to him when he heard a stick break behind him, turned around and saw a big grizzly bear growling loudly right before his very eyes. This is his horrifying story. Viewer discretion is advised. In northwestern Wyoming, just 52 miles from Yellowstone National Park, the city of Cody prides itself in high mountain peaks, luscious yet rugged forests, and multiple streaming rivers. Here lives Ron Lemmings Sr and Ronnie Lemmings Jr. Ron Sr loves the big game and has taught young Ronnie how to hunt and fish since he was 2 years old. When Ronnie killed his first deer at just 12 years old, more than the boy, it was Ron, his father, that was brimming with pride and excitement over this milestone for the young hunter. Since then, the two hunt with their rifles and bows for elk, deer, and antelope, to name a few. Between both, however, bow hunting has become their favored choice. To them, bow hunting gives off a different kind of experience, a much more exhilarating and challenging one that feeds their thirst for adrenaline. This has become a tradition over the years, forging a special bond for the father and son. In September 2008, on a Friday morning, Ronnie and his father went on their annual bow hunting outing and hiked 15 miles up the trail from the Boulder Basin trailhead. It had already been their fourth day, and Ron Sr had missed 2 elks the days prior. Today, they were optimistic and excited that they will not come home empty-handed. Before they headed out to their favorite spot, the father and son prayed for their safety and opportunity to have a bull elk in sight, and that God would guide their arrow to finally take home their game. Arriving at their favorite spot, they decided that Ronnie will be calling the elk uphill, while Ron settles below, about 40 yards away from him, to get the perfect range to shoot at their target. Now, when it comes to elk hunting, elk calling is another skill in itself. There are 2 major kinds of elk calls. One is the bugle call, and the other is called the cow call. Each type of call consists of a variety of elk vocalizations, which basically represents the different ways elk communicate with each other. These vary depending on the situation. It may be the ordinary noise they make when together, the noise they make when looking for other elks nearby, or to alert other elks of potential danger. Having been a hunter for most of his life, it was no doubt that Ronnie had already mastered the skill of elk calling. Not long after Ronnie started with his elk calling, a bull elk answered his call and was already in sight, but was not yet in the perfect position for Ron to take the shot. So Ronnie kept calling the elk, and thought everything was falling right into place, just exactly as they had planned. Until suddenly, the elk got startled and ran away from their sight and into the thick forest. Puzzled, Ronnie could not figure out why, as he was sure that the elk did not see them. He then heard something behind him, ruffled leaves, and a breaking stick. Ronnie turned around and saw a 600-pound grizzly bear about 20 yards away from him. Ronnie tried to scare off the bear and yelled, "Get out of here," as loud as he could. Unfazed, the bear charged at Ronnie and in a split second was already 1 foot away from where Ronnie was standing. Left with no other options, instinctively, the most fitting response was flight. Ronnie quickly went behind a tree, and in a second, the bear followed him all the way around the tree. Back in the spot downhill, Ron Sr heard his son shouting and knew right away that a merciless predator was putting his son in danger. He turned back and saw Ronnie being chased by the bear. He knew he needed to do something to save his son, and there was nothing else he could do at that point. The bow and arrow was all that he had. Ron drew back his bow, and as soon as he was sure he wouldn't hit Ronnie, he released the arrow aiming for the fast-moving bear, but did not really know if he hit his target or not. His son Ronnie sprinted downhill towards him and saw the yellow arrow whizzed by his leg. After 3 to 4 steps, Ronnie fell and the bear caught him and started attacking him. The huge beast was now on top of Ronnie and was mauling him. He was struck by his massive claws, but Ronnie kept fighting with his arms and kicking the bear. The bear was trying to bite him with his mighty jaws, but all that kept running through Ronnie's mind was to not let the furious Bruin attack his head nor his neck. Ronnie used his arms to protect his head and neck from the bear's huge and sharp teeth and powerful claws. While he was kicking and fighting with all his might, a huge amount of blood gushed toward his eyes. He had no idea if he had already been bitten or not. He could not feel any pain at that time. All he knew was that he needed to fight for his life. In a matter of seconds, Ronnie was back on his feet and was running away from the bear. However, just as he was about to jump between 2 forking trees, the raging grizzly caught up with him and pinned him down the tree and started to attack him again. It was then when Ronnie heard his dad screaming. Ron Sr. thought of shooting the bear one more time, but it was too risky that the arrow might get through the bear and hit Ronnie too. So, Ron decided to move close to the bear and just repeatedly strike the bear with his bow. He knew this was an extremely dangerous move and would easily put him as the bear's next target, but he could not stand watching his son getting devoured. The great grizzly quickly released Ronnie and turned to his dad. Ron Sr. walked backwards as he watched intently the slow steps of the bear going toward him, as if finding a new prey. To their surprise, the bear suddenly turned to another direction and walked past Ron Sr., leaving the two behind. As Ronnie was laying on the ground, he kept yelling at his dad to shoot the bear, but all that Ron Sr. thought was to rescue his son more than anything else. They watched the bear sluggishly march downhill and stumble until it went down to the ground, dead. Ron Sr. then dashed to his son's side. Horrified at the sight of Ronnie, who was covered in blood from head to toe, it was every father's worst nightmare turned to reality. His dad kept asking him questions, but Ronnie was now in a state of shock and could not answer. He felt nauseous and went cold. Ron quickly decided to start a fire, hoping it could bring a little bit of warmth and relief to his son. After a while, Ronnie felt better, so Ron went on to check the extent of his injuries. It was then that they realized that the blood to which Ronnie was bathed in was not Ronnie's. Rather, it belonged to the bear. Apparently, Ron's arrow landed where it was supposed to, and it saved both their lives. Ronnie was severely injured on his right arm, which was bitten repeatedly by the Bruin. He had a deep cut just below the elbow, exposing his bone. His left hand was also chewed on by the bear, entirely revealing the nerve mainly responsible for controlling the fingers. As if his wounds and future scars were not serious enough, being the true-blooded hunter that he is, Ronnie asked his dad if they could take home a trophy and was still even hoping his injuries were not that severe so he can hunt again. They also documented the bear's death with their camera, knowing that grizzly bears are a threatened species and that an investigation would surely be started in the next few days. Sometime after, as soon as Ronnie regained a bit of strength, they decided to start hiking back to their trailhead. They trekked to where they left their horses, but because of Ronnie's injuries, he could not climb up to ride on the horse, so they had to walk 2 miles back to their camp. Upon reaching their camp, Ronnie used their food storage to step on as he got in the saddle. It was another strenuous 6-hour travel time towards their trailhead. Reaching the end of their trail, they loaded the horse and rode their truck to get Ronnie the medical help that he very much needed. Along the way, Ronnie called his wife, telling her that he was attacked by a bear. His wife could not believe it at first, but when she saw their truck pull over outside their home and run towards Ronnie, reality sank in. Her husband had a close call with death. She immediately hopped into the truck so she could rush Ronnie to the hospital while Ron stayed behind. In no time, Ronnie was then subjected to surgery and got his wounds stitched up. The next day, while Ronnie was still admitted and recovering in the hospital, Ron Sr. went back to the location of the horrifying encounter, together with local game and fish officers and U.S. Fish and Wildlife agent. It was the wildlife agent who confirmed that the 11-year-old male grizzly bear that mercilessly attacked them was considered the king of the arena. The bear weighed 500 to 600 pounds. Upon thorough analysis and study on the dead bear, they all realized how astounding the shot Ronnie made. The biologist explained to them how the arrow had hit a major artery and miraculously went right into the heart of the grizzly. Ron instantly remembered his prayer to guide the arrow. He thought that it was God who guided him to make such a precise and impossible shot. When he prayed that prayer, Ron initially had an elk in mind, but God had other plans, and indeed, his plans are perfect. All along, the arrow was really intended to miss a total of 3 elks that season, because it was meant to pierce through a man-eater. The game warden concluded that killing the bear was an act of self-defense, and presented the lemmings with the greatest trophy they deserved, the bear's skull and claws. After their terrifying ordeal, the father and son never developed hatred toward bears. A month after that, they were even back hunting at that exact same spot, but now only more cautious and carrying handguns for protection. Needless to say, this horrific encounter made the father and son closer. Ron Sr. admired his son more when he saw how great of a man he was, fighting off the bear with his mere arms and legs, using up all the strength that he got. At the same time, Ron Jr. looks up to his dad as the ultimate hero who was ready to stand and give his life for him. Thank you for making it this far. If you want more of these videos, do click on the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We truly appreciate your support. Please feel free to comment down below for any story suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you and we'll see you on the next one.